She was just a normal person, right? And she ended up getting divorced. She drives the white Lumina van to Pennsylvania and barges her way in. And she says, put me on TV. Before, they only had their hosts and celebrities. And she said, put me on there. And they, I'm sure, said no. And then she said, put me on there. And they said no. She said, put me on there. And they said, fine. She was one of, if not the first normal person, right, to appear on the airwaves.
All right, what's up? Welcome back to the show. Today we got Bobby Moran, and we're gonna get into a kind of a bunch of crazy stories today. I think the main premise is that sort of this big problem that I think we're putting poison all over our house. We're putting like chemicals all over our house, and our dogs and kids are getting into it and stuff like that. So we're gonna get into that. That's in our cleaning products, but also Bobby's mom and the founder of the company has like one of the craziest sort of inventor stories of our generation. They made a movie about her.
That's right.
Jennifer Lawrence was in it.
That's right.
And we've also got there's another celebrity involved here. We got rappers involved.
Yep.
We got cleaning products. I mean,
inventors,
we got
rappers,
everything.
and cleaning products.
Yeah, the rock and roll trio.
Yeah, I mean, how else can you do it?
Yeah. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
So, all right, here's the deal. Look, if one of my dogs pees on the hardwood, or like if one of my kids blows a snot rocket, because kids are disgusting, I go.
But you love them.
Yeah, I mean,
but you
right?
love them.
Yeah, other people's kids, super disgusting. My kids somehow
amazing and beautiful in every way.
Right.
And gross.
And also gross. Yeah.
Grossly beautiful.
I go get a Clorox wipe. I wipe that thing up.
Yep.
Consider it done.
Yep.
What's the problem with that?
So you got to read your label, right? I mean, that's the kind of the thing that started us down this journey. Is if you kind of just take tradition when you clean, right? Just like, what did my mom do? What did my mom's mom do? Like, what's in the house? What smells like clean to me when I was 5? And like,
that's a good point.
Like
that's the smell of pine Sol.
Yeah,
means
exactly.
Clean.
It's like meatballs. It's like you're like, oh, meatballs, dinner. It's like it's like something with a lot of blue in it. Like that means clean to me. So if you just trust those instincts, then you're going to be doing things wrong. Is what it comes down to. And because what nobody does is nobody kind of pays attention to how these products are supposed to be used. And once you start learning how they're supposed to be used, you can't unlearn that. So for like Clorox, for example, or a product in that zone, and Clorox has a lot of different labels and a lot of different products. So, you can't speak with it with a broad brush, but ultimately when you clean something with an EPA registered chemical product, most of the time you need to then rinse it off with water. And no one's ever told you that before.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Like literally like hose it down.
I just
after you wipe and you're done, you then need to hose down the residue with water.
Yeah. On inside my house.
Inside your house. Yeah.
Seems practical.
Yeah.
That's interesting. That's not like on the label though.
No, it is. Yeah.
Oh, it is.
Yeah. It's just really small.
Oh my gosh.
It's just really small.
That sounds like that's like condoms are only 99% effective. They should put that on the label. It is on the label.
Yeah, it is like just on the inside. No. Yeah. I mean, that's the challenge, right? And so we all kind of grow up and we all kind of think we know how to clean, and we all kind of like use these products and think we know how to use these products and think we know the guardrails as to what's right and what's wrong.
Right.
But ultimately, if you kind of dig into it, you don't.
What's wrong with not rinsing it?
Because it leaves the chemical residue on the on the surface, and the EPA regulated instructions say that you should not do that, and you cannot do that in order to use it.
Because
I mean, so if you read the labels and you start looking at kind of what warnings are normally found on a lot of the products that are in your house, under your sink, available to your kids if you don't have anything locked up, sprayed on the floor if your dog's walking around, right? They say things like, if it gets on your skin, rinse your skin with water for 15 minutes. If it gets in your eye, rinse your eye for 15 minutes. 15 minutes? 15 minutes. 20
if it
minutes,
gets on my skin?
Gets on your skin. Like literally, do you use gloves? Probably not.
No.
You should be washing your hands for 15 minutes afterwards, according to the EPA rules and regulations. And then there's the other one, which is like mind-blowing to me and mind-blowing to most people is, you can only use it, a product that's built to be used in your house. You can inside your house, inside the four walls of where you live, right? That keeps the elements out. Right. You can only use it in a well-ventilated area, which means you basically have to open a window in order to spray the thing.
Yeah.
Which again, most people don't do. And the problem with that is, that's obviously leading to the inhalation and, what you're spraying lingering in
What
the
does
air,
that
going into your
what does that
lungs.
link to? Like I inhale it, what happens?
Yeah, I mean, that's the challenge.
I don't
right?
die instantly, but like
No,
how long
I mean,
does it take me to die?
now you get into the long-term exposures,
Yeah.
of things that, as we think about things like microplastics, and we think about things like forever chemicals, right? You think about EPA regulated pesticides and chemical cleaners. It's the long-term exposure, right, of these things in your life. They
Is it
build
just
up and
linked to
build
like
up.
everything? Like
Yeah, I mean,
cancer.
you do the Google search, it gets scary pretty quickly.
Broken
Yeah.
femurs,
Yeah.
all of it.
Yeah,
It's
yeah. I mean,
linked to
mostly,
everything.
your dog, your kid not winning the race.
Kid strikes out in Little League.
Yeah.
It's the chemicals.
It's the product I was using.
It's the chemicals.
I should have gone to something safer.
Yeah. So don't inhale chemicals. Don't put them on your skin. But that's pretty impractical. If
it's impossible. I mean, if you think it's
15 minutes is wild.
Yeah.
15 minutes washing your hands.
Yeah.
Why would you ever?
I mean,
need to wash
some
your
of
hands
them. I mean, because we've done this, right? This is our business. We've done this. We've read all the labels, right? And we highlight the ones that scare us. And there are some kind of regularly used products that say, warning, may cause death or something to that effect. Yeah, the
label says that.
It's and it's required to say that by the government.
I think when I see a label that says that, I'm like, that's how you know it gets it clean.
See,
you know what I mean?
That's exactly right. Oh my God, you just like put a bullseye like dart into the red of like why we exist. Yeah, right. Is because we have
not like existentially, but your company.
Oh yeah, right.
Why
maybe both. Maybe I guess
sure.
it depends on what the stakes are, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, truthfully, right? Why Clean Boss exists, and that's what we're here talking about, right? Is Clean Boss Clean Boss exists because previous to Clean Boss, there were really two worlds of cleaning product, right? One was the thing you just said, right? It's dangerous. It must work.
If it says may cause death, I'm like, it's gonna get it clean.
This thing's gonna be clean. So that's like group one.
Yeah.
And that's the one that we all pretty much in our generation, we all grew up with, right? Because that was kind of what was available and what was kind of mass manufactured and what was, used by all of the families that, kind of growing up in our generation. And then there's always this push, right? There's always this kind of outside push by edge groups and by folks who care and start thinking about this to use something that is better, smarter for you. And they move into the kind of the more plant-based and natural-based types of products. And,
is there plants that clean things?
Yeah, 100%. Okay. Yeah. I mean, so that's one of our technologies is based on that kind of science. And so, but ultimately like that, the move to, and, now you see it in TikTok, right? It's like another version of the shift, the trying to shift away from these types of kind of old school products. And it's like, oh, let's put vinegar and baking soda together. And let's buy something that doesn't have any warnings. Let's buy something that's, and there are brands that have been built, in that zone, right? In the zone of better for you, safer for you. Yeah. And the challenge is always,
does it work?
10 times out of 10, it doesn't work. It doesn't work well enough for people to stick with it, right? And so they always end up, and this was Joy's whole thing, right? Joy's whole thing was I always tried to go in that direction because she cared about her kids, she cared about her pets, but she always found herself reaching for that bottle with the bright fluorescent, colors on it.
Because you need to actually get something clean.
Because that was the thing she trusted to actually clean something in her bones.
You know what I want? Like, what is baking soda?
Because what is baking soda?
You look up like how do I do like anything? You know what I'm saying? Like how do I get whiter teeth? Baking soda. Yeah. How do I clean this? Baking soda. Yeah. How to make the most delicious pasta ever? Baking soda. Like it's baking soda is everything. Like, well, I don't understand. I mean, it's like a miracle product.
You know what it is the baking soda things like aspirin, right? There are things I feel like in the zeitgeist of our culture that are looked at to be kind of be all end all kind of like key unlocking things. And yes, there's some truth to the fact that there's some efficacy associated with those uses, right? With baking soda, but it doesn't really work. Right. It doesn't really work the way we want it to work. It really doesn't work the way. Yeah, exactly.
Better teeth, better vision.
Yeah.
You get
maybe not all the way.
5-6 inches taller. Just sprinkle it on you,
And so so that's kind of that's what people are trying to do, and you could feel it, right? You can feel this kind of drive to be like, what is the hack? What's the thing that allows me to have my cake and eat it too? How do I trust that I can get a clean that I can trust while not being afraid of the warnings on the back of the label?
All right, so let's go. That's the setup.
So
I think Yeah, no, I mean, look, it's the same thing in food, right? You see this in food and beverage all the time. There's a big push into better for you.
Yeah.
Right? Can we make better for you versions of Chips Ahoy or of crackers or whatever? All these snacks you really like. Magic Spoon does it with cereal, right? But it's like, but here's, you put it in your mouth. Right?
Yeah.
If you put it in your mouth, it better taste good.
Yeah, right.
And if it doesn't taste good, you're not gonna eat it.
Right.
Like you're gonna go back to the old thing. So so it's the same thing with cleaning products or really anything that you consume and need more of. So I guess, how do you break through that, right? Like, I mean, you guys have a product does not use chemicals. I feel like we're getting into infomercials.
I mean,
it doesn't use chemicals.
You said it.
What is the ingredient? Like, it's like, I guess, give me the science.
Yeah. So the science, the underlying science, is the molecules that are found naturally in the thyme plant. Right. So there is a process. There is a oil in the thyme plant called thymol, and that oil has germ killing and cleaning properties, right? And so there are lots of products out on the market that use thymol as their active ingredient in a cleaning and disinfecting way, right? The challenge is they don't work as well, right? And so it gets you're right back to where we were, which is something that has scary warnings versus something that doesn't have scary warnings based on thymol, right? The thyme plant technology. But ultimately doesn't work as well. Why doesn't it work as well? Right? It's because there's not enough of it in there.
Okay.
Right? There's not enough of that thymol product, that thymol kind of compound in the solution to work quickly enough. Wow. So perfect example. Why?
Why don't people just put more in there?
It's hard because
what if you just used only that?
Yeah. So it's great. It's a great question. It's an amazing question. So the answer is because it starts to break down. Right. And so the more you put in, it's like when you make a spaghetti sauce. I feel like I've now referenced Italian cooking several times, right? But it's like when you make a sauce and things start to separate, right? And you got to mix it. And can you mix it to the point where it's stable, right? And it stays together long enough to eat, right? That's kind of what we're talking about here. But it needs to be stable long enough to sit on a shelf and then be picked up by a consumer and then be brought home, kept in a drawer or a cupboard or on the shelf, and then used. And it has to be stable enough where each spray has enough of the active ingredient, right, to have the cleaning efficacy and the germ killing efficacy that is on the EPA regulated label, which is on the bottle, right? So the problem with
basically it separates,
exactly,
and then each spray doesn't have enough of it in there.
Exactly. And so even if you shake it, like it's it becomes a thing.
Shaking's a super precise science.
It's very exact.
I shook it 3 times, so we're good.
Yeah, it's very exact.
Yeah,
it's very exact.
So how do you make it not separate that?
So that's our magic, right? I mean, so
you're like, well, I can't tell.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's funny.
That's proprietary.
It's funny I teed up that question accidentally. I walked right into that one. No, really, like that is the science behind our technology, right? Okay. So the patents around our technology, the molecule sizes, the mixture with the thymol allows us to put 5 times more thymol into the solution in a stable way. It's crystal clear, right? In a stable way. Crystal clear, doesn't separate, shelf stable, every spray is perfect, but it's 5 times you're delivering 5 times as much. That's the patent, right? That's the beauty. That's the magic behind Clean Boss. And so because of that, a thymol-based product that's out there that I'm sure you've purchased if you're in this space and you really care about these things and you've tried to use it. If you spray it on a table, it takes... Do you know how long it needs to be left on the table before it starts killing germs, or it effectively kills 99.9% of germs?
Not like a normal chemical one.
Well, yeah. Let's just take a guess on all these ones. Like, what do you think? Like, this is
so like the ones that say might cause death.
Yeah.
Like I spray them on there, germs are like, I'm dead. Right
instantly
now.
Dead.
Yeah.
Just like they see
death.
you walking towards them, and they're like,
death to germs instantly, death to people over time.
Yeah.
That's how I think about those ones. All right.
We're gonna need a lot of disclaimers on the bottom.
Yeah. The thymol ones. So here's I don't know. I'm not like I'm just the first I'm hearing of this.
But this is why I'm always curious as to what people's instincts are. Yeah.
So I guess my instincts are anything natural is going to I guess it's not that I think it's going to take longer. I think it's going to be like, you just got to do it more. Like I gotta spray it and spray it and wipe it again. Spray it and wipe it. I got to do like 4 or 5 times. You know what I'm saying?
Good.
That's my instinct. It's not that it takes long.
No, I mean, I think that's probably everybody's instinct, right? Yeah. If you thought about it enough to care, but not enough to actually dig in
change
and
it,
start a company about it, right? Then
Right,
like, you know, then you probably, that's probably what you think, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, in reality, again, it's all there for you. It's all on the back of the label. So the EPA requires anybody who makes germ killing claims to put in their instructions on the consumer label how long you need to leave the surface wet in order to kill something.
That's true. So like carpet cleaning stuff, like for pet stains or whatever, like if your pet goes to the bathroom on the carpet. That there's usually that's when I'll read the directions.
Because you don't really, you don't think you know what it is, so you read it versus like a cleaner. Which
Also, I'm like, that's heavy duty. Like what we're trying to do right now. This is God's work, so we gotta do it right.
We gotta do it right.
Like if it's just on my hardwood, if it's on the hardwood, I'm like, if it's gone, it's not.
Yeah, if it's like just your kid's high chair or whatever, like
high chair,
like that's like who cares about that?
Yeah. Baby goes in there, they're fine.
Well, we're talking dog.
Yeah,
you know, that's when we're
that's when it's getting real. Yeah.
So I mean, so if you think about it, right?
So they have, so they usually have directions for how long.
Exactly, they have to. It's law. They have to, right? And we have to have tests to back it up, right? So that's how the EPA works. So when you talk about a kind of a botanically powered cleaner, generally like botanically derived, like the thymol cleaners on the market, you have to spray it and leave the surface wet for 10 minutes.
What, really?
10 minutes to effectively kill 99.9% of germs.
Okay.
So the surface has to be wet 10 minutes, which is a long time, which is kind of proves the point of, these good for you products are they just don't work as well because no one does that, you know. And if I needed to do that, my life would be occupied by weight. You're not doing that, right? Exactly, right. So if you look at the the other product, the kind of the ones that your mom used and the ones that, I don't know your mother, but I'm just guessing, right?
Your mom doesn't use them.
Yeah, she did, right? She did. So, those ones, anywhere.
My mom's like the one who uses the all natural stuff that just doesn't work.
Oh yeah.
And it's like,
and you're just dirty.
And we're just dirty, and we eat food that doesn't taste good.
Right. That's right. And you're like, and I'm still here.
Yeah,
and I'm
I don't
still
know.
here.
I guess.
Yeah.
I don't love it.
I went to the big
I don't
city.
love it. I don't love
it. You're using, hazardous warning cleaners and
that's Cheerios. I've gone the other way now.
Right,
I'm like, give me Cheetos and Clorox wipes. Yeah.
So 10 minutes for the kind of the ones that came before us, right? In terms of the botanically derived efforts, right? And then you have kind of the ones that, our moms used. And those are, if you read the label, it depends. But for the most part, it's anywhere from 2 to 4 minutes, right, of leave. So again, even the ones that have the scary
which
warnings,
I still don't do.
And you still don't do that, right? And that's 2 to 4 minutes. So ours, Clean Boss, right, with the kind of the magical patented, concentration of thymol, kills cold and flu viruses on hard porous surfaces, right? That's kind of the words that everyone uses which is like a table. It's surface. Like a table or a hardwood floor or your tile in your bathroom or your kid's high chair. Kills viruses, cold virus, flu virus, RSV, etc. The virus that causes COVID-19 in 60 seconds or less.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's like how long I leave it on there. Huh? It's less. Crazy. I do the last part.
Yeah. I'm in the bracket though.
Yeah.
Of 60 seconds or less.
That's how long I leave it on.
Yeah.
I think what's crazy about that even is that like, even if I am using the chemical stuff, like I'm still not even.
You're not even doing it right.
I'm both poisoning my family and.
Yeah. You're not following the directions.
And I'm not even getting it clean.
Yeah. You're not killing all the germs that, according to the EPA.
It's a good time.
Yeah. I mean, you're feeling pretty good about yourself right now.
No, I'm not.
Look. I was in your boat.
I didn't know this is what we were going to do here.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the thing. There's always time, right? Yeah. We can fix this.
Okay. So let's backtrack this a little bit. Like, how'd you get there? How did you get here? Cause like, I mean, obviously if this could be done, thymol was already a known ingredient.
Correct.
A lot of people want to create like natural stuff. Like it wasn't easy, right? Like there was a lot of like science, like chemical. You had to use like real live scientists, not like bro scientists, like real ones. That know how to do chemistry and stuff.
Oh yeah.
To do this, and it
lab
took
coats,
a long time.
Lab.
Yeah, they got degrees and everything.
I mean, it's like amazing. I mean, honestly, they don't even let me go there because it's so nice.
Yeah,
they're
like, you're just gonna ruin it.
No, I do. I go there, and it's really nice. And so, but yeah, I mean, like, so the journey for Joy. Right. And Joy's my mother, right? And my co-founder of the company, with me and my sister. So the three of us started the company together. in 2020. Her journey started when she was a kid, right? You know, her journey started being somebody who always was trying to figure out how to make things better and being kind of relentlessly upset with the fact that things aren't working the way they should, and then trying to fix it.
She's a tinkerer.
Yeah, she's a tinkerer. She doesn't kind of accept things for what they are, you know. And so that was her growing up, you know. She did the typical Italian Long Island thing of, you know, going to college, getting married, having kids, you know, young couple, and you know, and she actually was working. She was home with us a lot, but then she would do, you know, she would work as a hostess at a restaurant. And she was actually, at one point, she was the person who sits behind the desk, like at the customer service thing for Eastern Airlines, like in the airport. Like that was her job. You know, she was just a normal person, right? And she ended up getting divorced, like some folks do, and she didn't really know what to do with herself. And she had an idea. She had an idea that the mop that she was using, which was a cotton-headed mop, that if you kind of try to reel your head back in the day, or if you watched a janitor in a kind of an industrial situation use a mop, it's a big floppy cotton strings, and you put it in the thing and you squeeze it out with your hand, like you know, that kind of thing. And so she always wanted a mop like that.
It looks like hair. I think it looks like hair.
Yeah, exactly. It looked like a dog, you know, like one of those awesome dogs that like have all the dreadlocks hair things going on, the white ones. Yeah, it's really cool. But the other option at that time was the kind of the yellow rectangle sponge mop that you kind of did this and
and then that's what we had at my house.
Yeah, so that was kind of the two options. But she was like, I want this, but with the ease of it. I want to have my cake and eat it too. I want both. And so she, being somebody who's never done this before, created a prototype for a self-wringing mop that had a full cotton head, but you didn't have to reach into the water and into the cotton to squeeze it out. You could twist it and it would kind of wring itself out. And this was when I was very young, and my grandfather helped her with some money to kind of help her kind of do that. And when I was a kid, we would take this mop, which she called the marine mop. And we would go to boat shows on Long Island, and I vividly remember as a 6, 7, 8-year-old standing on a yard by yard plexiglass kind of tile thing and mopping the tile over and over and over again at these boat shows, while she would talk to folks who were walking by and try to sell one at a time. And 10 mops in a day was like a huge success for us, for the traveling band of mop salespeople. You know,
killed it. You guys, so that's what she did. You guys split that up 3 ways.
You know, I mean, I think it all kind of trickled down.
Gotcha.
You know, it all kind of trickled down in the pizza.
Went into the pot.
Yeah. So she was doing that, and then she ended up getting a shot by just sheer determination of being able to test the mop in a Kmart at the time. And
so did she have it mass produced then?
No, I mean, like, she had someone who was making it, but this was all kind of being figured out, right? And so she just
had someone else who was like putting them together.
Exactly. And so she,
like, they're just like using like screw, like tools.
Yeah, I mean, you know, the mold,
like tools, right? That you can, that you find them in your toolbox in the garage.
Yeah. Okay. So they were just putting them together, the mold, they were gluing them, they were sewing the head and kind of putting it all together, right? Okay. And so this was at 10, 20, 30 at a time, right? This was not, you know, big business, right? And she got a shot to sell something in Kmart. So she went to Kmart and stood in a Kmart in Michigan, I believe it was, and just sold her heart out to everybody who was walking by, every human who was in the Kmart. She sold out of the mops that she had brought with her to Kmart. And so the buyer said, okay, I will give you the eastern half of the United States. Which she wasn't prepared to service, right?
She's only one person.
Well, but also she wasn't prepared to even make the product, right? And
that's true,
you know, this was kind of like, but
Jimmy next door couldn't do that many.
Right. Exactly. Right. So she had to figure that out, but that's the life of an entrepreneur, right? Is always figuring things out, right? And so at the same time, she got a letter back, because she was just writing letters to people. Like, that's how she was getting in front of people, was just mailing letters.
Yeah.
She got a letter back from
in the mail.
Yeah, in the mail. Yeah. This was in the early 90s, right?
Right. Yeah. That's, people checked the mail back then.
Yeah.
Wrote each other letters.
Right. But at the same time, she got a letter back from a company in Pennsylvania called QVC. And QVC, who we all know at the time, was kind of an upstart. You know, they were kind of like this, we're selling product through the television concept. And she was like, we can do that, right? And so she drives. I vividly remember we had a white Chevy Lumina van, right? Awesome. I always sat in the back. There's a little motion sickness, but I kind of took pride in sitting in the backpack, right?
Right.
But anyway, she drove to QVC, had a conversation with them, and they were like, "We'll take your mop and we'll put it on TV." So she sent it, and somebody, one of the hosts, right, one of the QVC hosts, kind of stood up in the TV and sold the mop. At this point, she had rechristened the name of the mop to be Miracle Mop.
The Miracle Mop.
Yeah.
I like how you said that the host stood up in the TV.
Yeah.
Like they stood up inside that TV machine.
Yeah, right inside the machine.
Yeah.
It's actually an amazing effort. But and that's a whole other podcast is how that all happens. It's incredible. But so they did that.
So they're selling the Miracle Mop.
Well, no, he stood up in the TV and sold like zero. Zero.
Yeah.
And the problem with that was they had ordered, I want to say it was like 500 or 1,000 mops, which is a lot of money for someone to do. But they had the rights to return all of them, right? So for someone like my mother,
so she's gonna have 500 mops in the garage
and all of her cash gone, and big problems.
Yeah,
right, big problem. So, her being her, and this is kind of where her road is changes versus other people, I think, who would have been confronted with this. She drives the white Lumina van to Pennsylvania and barges her way into QVC, the big company, right? And she's Joy from Long Island, right?
Yeah.
And she says, "Let me sell it on TV. Put me on TV. This is Joy, who is Eastern Airlines customer service."
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
That's not what QVC, that's what QVC does now.
Right.
They put the founder on.
So before, this is in the 90s, they only had their hosts, for the most part, and celebrities.
Oh.
So like, daytime soap celebrities and,
You're not like real celebrities.
Like, that was the thing, right? So, so they're like, I don't know what, I don't think she's ever told me the story in a way where she gives me the TikTok of it all.
How did you actually convince them to let you go up there?
She's a very convincing person.
She's just like, I snuck up there.
She's a very convincing person. and she said, "Put me on there." And they, I'm sure, said no. And then she said, "Put me on there." And they said no. She said, "Put me on there." And they said, "Fine."
Yeah.
So
you ask 3 times. That's the key.
Yeah, right.
That's
you just
the
gotta,
secret.
Right. That's sales, right?
Yeah.
You just gotta enjoy the no. Enjoy the no. Right.
Yeah.
And so
I like that.
So she goes on TV. She was one of, if not the first kind of inventor, normal person, right, to appear on the airwaves of QVC. So
that's crazy because like that's their model now is that they put the founder,
she built the model, right? Yeah. And so she went on there, and quick way to describe how it works. QVC back in the day was only telephone sales. They didn't have computers, right?
Right.
And the way that it works in the studio is there's a big screen with a big dark green bar, and the dark green bar goes across the screen to the end of the screen, and that's the operators taking phone calls and the capacity, right? So once it gets to the end, all of the operators are on the phone taking orders. Okay. And then there's a light green bar that goes down across the bottom. For every live line that they had a hold line. So that was, once the operators were at full capacity, then the hold would start picking up and that green bar would go across. And so Joy went on air. She started talking about her Miracle Mop to the world, and her experience in inventing it and what it means to her and how it works and why it was better. And the green bar went across. The light green bar went across. And no one had ever seen this before. The screen just went pink, just broke.
That's what happened when you break the game.
Yeah. She broke the phone system. And so
they're still getting calls though.
No, I mean, but the whole thing was like, the whole system wasn't built for this, right? So this was now, if you kind of reel forward a couple of years and think about her driving, with us to QVC to go on TV or alone, the big question for me, and I remember this as a kid, was did the phones turn pink, right? Like that's the sign of success for her. And she was the only one in the network who could do that.
Yeah.
It was truly a miracle.
Do you think it has more to do with the product or the person on QVC?
I think it's a
combination, obviously.
But I think to answer that with regard to Joy would say the product, because she would never go on air with a product that she didn't think was worthy of every single human who was out there calling in and getting.
Yeah, but there was another person who tried to sell the product. And
she just has a certain kind of instinct of this is going to be the thing that matters to people because it matters to her. And I think she really has this simpatico with the folks out there, right? Like when we're in a room talking about anything, like any business, anything, right? She's always the person talking on behalf of the consumer.
Yeah.
She's always says, but they won't like that. And they're not going to accept that. Or this is what they like. This is what they like. This is what they need. This is what we need to give to them. Right. I've never heard her put on a financial hat and be like, well, the margin points or this, that, that's the unit economics. That's not how she thinks. That's not how she thinks. Right. She thinks about what did they need? What must we give them in order for us to satisfy them and to make their lives better? Like that's how she talks. That's how she thinks. That's how she's built.
Yeah.
And in 30 years, it hasn't changed.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
So she breaks the phones. Miracle Mop takes off.
Boom. Lightning in a bottle. Yeah. Creates a 1-800 short form commercial. We call those infomercials or, direct response commercials.
Yeah.
And this is another cool kind of story that is.
So this is still the 90s.
Yeah, still the 90s. Yeah, I'm gonna I'll speed it up. You tell me if I need to speed it up.
You're good.
You're good. So the QVC folks had an arm called Q Direct, and that was to make programs that would go on TV outside of QVC, the network, right? So it would be on commercials at Fox and CNN and if I don't know. And so they were like, we're going to make a short form commercial, a direct response 1-800 call now type of a commercial about the Miracle Mop. And she's like, great, that's amazing. Where do you need me to be? And they were like, you're not going to be in it. And she's like, what are you talking about?
She's like, we've tried this already.
Yeah. And she's like, what? And she's like, yeah, no. It's the numbers say that people buy from males, from men, and so we are going to have a male host.
People buy mops from men.
Yeah, that's what
I go to men all the time for my cleaning advice.
That's what the numbers said,
especially in the 90s.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Where'd you get your numbers?
And what numbers?
What numbers? That's a blank sheet of paper
data
you're holding. And so she begged and they finally gave her a small budget. About, I think they spent $100,000 on making the one with the host, the man, and they gave her like $10,000 for her and an amazing host from QVC called Jane Rudolph Tracy, who's still there today, to make like one with them, like this low budget, like just film it.
Just get this lady off. Our back.
Just get her off and just make it. And they say, we'll test them. We'll tell you how it goes, right? And they ran the test head to head, and true gutting it out there, having people call in like for real, not just like a focus group, right?
Right.
And they came back and they said your version performed better, and she said, "That's amazing. How much better?" And they said 10 times better. 10 times better.
Yeah, I mean, she already knew that was going to happen, right?
I mean, yeah, I guess.
What? So okay, I mean, take me to the like family situation before late. It's just her. It's you and your sister?
I have an older sister and a younger sister. Yeah.
So her 3 kids.
Yeah. We're all within 4 years of each other. So we're all, at this point, we're like, 9, 8, and 6.
And she's the sole income, like before all this happens.
Yeah.
She's the sole income provider. Like, what was your guys' situation like? Was it like pretty not great?
Yeah. Lower middle class. Like they were divorced. My dad was paying child support and he was a salesman. Right. And, Borden Foods, Wise potato chips. We were never allowed to have Doritos, right? It was only Bravos, Wise potato chips. So that was the rule of the house. And so, it was your typical kind of divorced.
It's kind of like you're getting by.
Very hand to mouth. Yeah.
You're getting by, but it's like if something bad happens.
Oh yeah. 100%. Like most people today, right? I mean, I think,
a lot of people,
like every other person, right? And just very difficult and very stressful. Yeah.
Yeah. And some months I was saying, like, I don't know if there's a lower middle class anymore. I don't know if that exists, but some months you're choosing which bills to pay.
100%. I mean, she was.
You're like, well, I mean, the power, they'll let us go 2 months.
No, she was late on the mortgage some months. She was late on the telephone bill some months.
I mean, like playing you're playing like
the shell game, right? Of like, who's going to be mad at me for too long?
Which is, I mean, it can be worse. It can be worse.
Of course.
But it's
but very difficult.
High stress.
Very difficult. Yeah. And my grandmother, her name's Teresa, but my father who has a knack for nicknames christened her Toots, and so we call her Grandma Toots. She would come in and help with us a lot, let my mom work. She lived in the city. We lived in East Meadow, so it was a train ride away. My great grandmother Mimi, she would come and help us a lot. So kind of an all hands on deck, kind of survival.
So I feel like that even today, like I have like a weird relationship with money because of that. I'm like very scarcity mindset when it comes to money.
Yeah.
Because we're like, oh, if I can, we need to save because you never know, and we don't want to be in that situation.
Yeah.
You feel like the same, or
yeah? I mean, I think
you try to get past it, but it's like it's ingrained. You know?
Yeah, and also I think there's a weird and again, this is probably 20 podcasts worth of stuff, but like the
or therapy sessions.
This money's a funny thing, right? Because you don't, at least a lot of people, and I would say my family included, you don't really want to talk about it. Like it's not, we're not comfortable sharing. It's like one of those things that is behind closed doors. It's your own business. You have to kind of do it. And to kind of share and depend and do all of that is something that's very hard to open up about. It's like opening up about kind of deepest, darkest types of secrets is what it feels like. So whatever kind of,
it's a weird culture.
It's a very weird culture. And so because of that, I think, and because of the kind of the rags to riches kind of world that my mother experienced, and we watched this go along the way, right?
So she sells at QVC, gets their cut. There's all these cut downs stuff. Was it like you guys noticed, like from an income standpoint, like you know what I mean? Was it noticeable while this was happening?
I mean, I think so. I would say we from a, this kind of started happening when we were in elementary school, right? Kind of young, and I would say it kind of, she went from Joy the housewife and person who invented something that nobody cared about, to Joy Mangano, kind of America's most celebrated female inventor, over the course of my kind of growing up, right? So by the time I got to college, probably like hitting college, which was also the exact same time Barry Diller, who was the head of QVC, moved over, purchased HSN, the competitor, the kind of the scrappy competitor, and wanted Joy to come over and help him rebuild HSN, and she was very loyal to QVC. And so he said, well, why don't I just buy your company? And so she ended up giving QVC that offer. She said, well, Barry's going to buy my company. Would you like to buy my company? And they said, we're good with the situation as it is. And so she sold her company to Barry Diller and became the president of her company within the HSN ecosystem with Barry at the top. Yeah. So that was kind of the moment, right? Like that was like the
that's like
boom,
an
explosive moment. That most people, it's kind of the end of the story, right? Like that's like the
beginning of the cleaning story.
It's like the end of Dune 1, right? Or something like that, right?
So is that where the movie ends? Like when the movie?
So that's kind of where the movie ends, right? And that's that's kind of the payoff in the movie. And so it's from that point that things get interesting. At least from my perspective, right?
So the follow up,
the sequel.
All right, because so she kind of has this moment, she makes it. That's a big financial, like personal financial windfall moment. But we started this whole thing talking about like the actual just like cleaning products, Clean Boss spray, and we're not there yet. We're not even there. We're almost there. It's hard to that part. So she's got the mop. Is she like, now she has the mop,
and she, and the beauty about Joy, and the reason now I think she is who she is in the pantheon, is that she just kept going, right? So did the mop, big success, massive. I mean, it was on Friends. Like they had a mop on Friends hitting the ceiling of they're in some sketch of part of Friends. It was like it hit the cultural zeitgeist, right? And then it was boom, the Rolly Kit, which right now is blowing up on TikTok in a bit of a revival. And then boom, the huggable hangers, right? Which the slim velvety hangers that you see, the kind of like the slim line hangers with the flocking. She invented that.
What's I don't love those. What's the deal?
You don't love those?
Oh no, I don't know if I get them.
You don't get them?
Maybe I don't get them. Why are they?
I mean, the idea is they hold your clothes on securely so they don't fall down to the floor in your closet.
Yeah, I think maybe it was more like now they have different kinds of hangers besides wire. I remember when we only had wire hangers.
Yeah, right. And then you had wooden hangers, which were like this big, and like you can only fit 10 of them in your closet, right? So this was the idea of this strength and durability of wooden hangers, but you can fit 1,000 of them in your closet, right?
Okay.
So it tripled your closet space. So anyway, I mean, she sold over 1 billion huggable hangers. So the beauty of where she went to was Barry let her run her company the way she needed to run her company, right? There was not a lot of pulling it apart or kind of infusing her world with other people. So it basically stayed the same on Long Island in Ronkonkoma. And so she started just going, right? And it's hit after hit. And then all of a sudden, she started getting phone calls from celebrities, right? And they'd be like, oh, we'd love to work. We want to build a product line. This was in the early 2000s when there were endorsements, but there weren't a lot of like true product kind of celebrity people, right? And she started working with celebrities, so she worked with Iman and built her fashion line and ran her fashion line together with Iman in partnership for years and years and years. Chef Todd English, where they introduced the world's first ceramic nonstick cookware to the world.
Okay.
And Chef Todd English is an amazing guy. Paula Abdul, Serena Williams, Chef Ming Tsai, Keith Urban. We built.
What are the I mean, now you got to tell me the products.
It's so I would say Paula Abdul was accessories, fashion and accessories.
Okay.
Chef Todd English was kitchen culinary cookware.
Yeah.
Keith Urban, so Serena Williams was fashion. Keith Urban is an interesting one. We built a guitar business with him called Urban Guitars, and we were, after we launched it, Keith was really the largest seller of guitars in America.
What? Really?
Yeah, bigger than Fender, bigger than Gibson, for the time that we were doing
Guitars.
It. Yeah, check it out. We did a whole lesson series. I mean, it's amazing. It's Keith Urban teaching you how to play. The guitar. It's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
So this is, so now we're fast forward. We're like,
so now we just boom, 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 boom. I mean, it's just growth. It's just, and like all of a sudden, $10 million a year in sales turns into $350 million a year in sales. Like just all organic growth, right?
Yeah.
With Joy and with
and home shopping.
And with Christy and with my sister.
And then obviously celebrities reach.
Yeah. I mean, it's amazing. It was amazing. And so
Christy's involved.
Yeah. So when Barry bought the company, Christy was graduating college. She's a year older than me. And she went to Providence College, did a year in the PR space, launching celebrity branded perfumes and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
She's actually the one who was first introduced to Todd English through that work, and then came on and became my mother's right hand, in her early mid-20s, and has been working with her ever since. And is probably, Christy Moran, my sister, is probably the world's best creator and sourcer of product outside of Joy in the world. Yeah. It's incredible.
Okay.
Yeah. So they did it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this all kind of like led to Clean Boss.
Yeah.
So how did that happen?
Yeah. So
how long did it take to develop? Like, was she doing other products?
Yeah. So we're always, she was launching thousands of products a year at this point. Christy and Joy were launching thousands of products a year. And as happens right in the world, because Joy is Joy and her platform is what her platform is, people come to her, right, with things that they don't necessarily know what to do with, but they think is something that can be impactful. Mm-hmm. And one person came to her with this technology around cleaning. And they said, we've, been developing it for different reasons and in the industrial space, et cetera, but we think this can have a real impact on the homes across America. But we have no idea about any of that, right? Yeah. We're just scientists.
Yeah.
And Joy and Christy sat down and rebuilt the entire business and rebuilt the entire thing. And ultimately that led to the launch of Clean Boss. Mm-hmm. And Clean Boss is a separate company. And Joy has since exited HSN, and we are still HSN's an amazing partner of ours, but we are our own independent company again. And we launched a business based on this technology. And the more we learned about it, the more we were like, this can change the game. Mm-hmm. This can change the game. To give you an example. So when Joy launched the first ceramic nonstick, right? In layman's terms, that's sand-based nonstick, right? It's like you use sand to basically make the nonstick coating of the pan. Before people were using that, they were using, the chemical-based PFOA, PFOE emitting, kind of black nonstick that you were used to in the 80s and 90s and et cetera.
Okay.
And everyone knew that there were issues with the fumes and emissions that came from those. But they said, you know what?
That's what we got.
It's what we got.
It's either that or sticky pans.
So let's go with the PFOAs.
We make weird decisions at Human.
I know.
We're like a little bit of inconvenience when you wash the dishes, or would you like slow poison over time?
That's right.
We're like, we'll take the slow poison.
Yeah, for 500, Alex. And so this technology, she partnered with a group out of Europe, and when she was launching it, like people really were thinking she would get like murdered or something, the industry would come down on her in a way that was like all these vested interests in industrial companies that are doing all these things. She was calling me. I was a lawyer at the time. She was calling me. She's like, can you call these companies and just make sure they don't, sue me or, and I'm like, I can't.
Yeah. That's not really what lawyers do,
That's
Mom.
not my, I don't have that bat phone.
So, right. Yeah. Call these companies.
Right. Because she was basically taking on an entire industry, right? An entire embedded industry, right? And they launched. It was explosive. And based on the numbers I have, 2 years after she launched it, maybe 3 years after she launched sand-based ceramic nonstick cooking, those chemical-based compounds that everyone was using, 99% of the market effectively, was down to effectively zero.
Yeah.
Because we had a product that had none of the hazardous warnings, that worked just as well, if not better, than what was the entrenched kind of industry. So
that was, the point of bringing that up was because it was similar
to Clean Boss. Right. So we see Clean Boss and the technology that we have, has zero toxic warnings, right? Mm-hmm. It has zero skin warnings, zero eye wash warnings, zero inhalation warnings, zero imbibing warnings. No rinse required.
Like you could literally drink.
There is the technical answer is there is no warning on the bottle saying to if you drink it, call poison control, which is what every other kind of traditional chemical cleaner says. It says if you drink it, call poison control, or something like that.
That said,
am I recommending that?
No.
That's not what it's for, right? It's not for drinking.
Yeah,
no.
It's not for it's like my stomach just feels like it needs to be clean.
That is not an application. Yeah. But what we see is it's finally the science has caught up, right? So finally you can have a product that has none of those warnings and it can kill germs faster than the products that do. Mm-hmm. And so we believe at Clean Boss that in 5 years' time, we will look back on the 2010s and 2000s and 90s and say, how could we have let those cleaners into our house?
Yeah.
How could we have done that as a society? Which is what we look at, by the way, with the black nonstick chemical coatings. How could we have let that in our house?
Yeah.
Right? That's how we feel today. Right?
Yeah.
I think we're going to feel the same way about those cleaners in 5 years.
Yeah.
And Clean Boss is the thing that's going to do it.
So tell me how Pitbull gets involved.
Yeah.
Because I went to the website.
Yeah.
And it's your mom.
Yeah.
And Pitbull.
Yeah.
And it's a cleaning product.
He's so awesome.
Which was like, okay. Pitbull associated with cleaning. Is it because pit bulls are specifically dirty? Like they're like kind of a messy dog. And I was trying to figure it out.
No, I'll tell you the story. So Joy is, given what she's done and given, the products she's launched and stuff, she's has a really amazing network of people that reach out to her and that try to do
she's
projects.
Already pretty celebrity connected.
She's amazing. She's kind of the biggest non-celebrity like that exists, right? It's so funny because she's not a celebrity. Like she's so not a celebrity in her own mind, right? But like she walks through an airport and everyone stops her, right?
Yeah, people know her.
They know her. They love her. They want to. They are already friends with her, you know, in there, and it's an amazing thing. And she stops and she loves it because that's what she does it for. She does it because she's helping everyone, right?
Yeah,
and that's what really matters to her. So anyway, Armando, so Pitbull's, non-stage name is Armando Christian Perez.
Okay.
And so they had been working on a potential project together, and that's how they met. And so one day she gets a phone call, and he calls her Mamacita. It's so cool. He's the coolest guy I've ever met in my whole life, right?
Yeah.
He's literally the coolest.
Dude, that checks out.
Smart.
Right?
He's so amazing. Yeah. He's a force. And so he says, I want in on Clean Boss.
Uh-huh.
And she says, in her Joy way, why?
Yeah.
And he explains, when he was a kid, and his mother was an immigrant from Cuba, and they were in South Florida. They were extremely poor, right? And in order to keep food on the table and to keep clothes on his back, she would clean houses, right? She was a cleaning lady, and he would go with her, right?
Yeah.
And he would watch as she would struggle through what cleaning ladies of little means go through, right? They don't have enough product. It's too expensive. They're mixing things together. They're trying to make product with lemons and limes, et cetera, et cetera. Mm-hmm. And he grew up with this kind of space in him, as he described it, where he said, I always knew I always thought and I always wanted to impact that world and help women like my mother. But I'm me. I do what I do, and I never thought I could, but I always knew I would. And he didn't know how. And then all of a sudden, Joy and Clean Boss kind of flowed into his
world.
his world, and he's like, I'm in.
Yeah.
And Joy's like, let's do this.
And does he have shares? Like,
yeah, I can't share. I can't talk through all that. But he is literally
a part owner.
No, he's a part owner. He's a co-founder with Joy. He's
amazing.
the face of Joy. He's the face with Joy of the brand. He's all in.
Yeah.
And
that's the way to do it if you're going to do a celebrity.
Yeah.
It's like not just do an endorsement.
No, it's not. It's not even close to an endorsement.
Ownership.
Right? I mean, we don't really believe in that, right? If we're going to partner with someone, it's a real deep, kind of all in partnership.
So right now, focus is Clean Boss. I mean, last 3-4 years, basically, focus is Clean Boss, Clean Boss. Do you go where she goes? Like, is Clean Boss going to be it for the rest of her life or your life, or are we move? At some point, do you think you move on to, like, kind of get the operation set up for Clean Boss, and now what you guys are great at is launching products, and you move on to something else, or is like Clean Boss it for time on all eternity here?
Yeah. So I mean, it's a great question. It's a little inside baseball. What I'll share with you is that when we do a project, we kind of have 3 rules, right?
Okay.
Rule number 1 is, do we have some type of superpower associated with the project, right? And it could be any vertical. It could be cleaning, it could be kitchen, it could be TV, it could be movie making. I mean, we have a Broadway musical in production, Joy the Broadway musical, which is like incredible.
Nice.
So it's 1, do we have a superpower associated with the project? 2, can it be extremely impactful at scale, right? Because we, all of our limits are the time of the day, time of the week, time of the month, time of the year, and what are we going to be dedicating ourselves to? So kind of 1 is it special for us? 2 is, can it be special for the world? And then 3 is it going to be fun? Like, are the partners fun? Are the people fun? Is the industry fun? Is it going to be something that we really enjoy creating, launching, building, and scaling? And if it meets those 3 kind of gating questions, right, we're all in. Yeah. Like, we'll do it. And it almost doesn't matter what it is, right? I mean, that's the beauty of it, is we have the freedom, to kind of attack projects in all sorts of different worlds and areas. And that's kind of what the fun is. It just so happens.
Do you guys work on additional projects while you're also working on Clean Boss, or is it like one thing at a time?
Yeah, I mean, I think right now Clean Boss is just explosive, right? And so it's all hands on deck. I mean, it's explosive. And so I would say that sucks up the majority of the oxygen, because it's just growing so fast, and it's been so successful, and we're having such an impact, in the world. I mean, that's kind of how we kind of sit. So our mission at Clean Boss, right, is to wake up the world to a new way of clean, right? So that feeling you had when you were sitting there being like, I didn't actually ever think of all those things like before, like nor did I think I needed to think of those things. Like that's our job, right? Our job is to go, tell the world, hey, pay attention to this stuff, right? And learn about, kind of how long something needs to sit on a surface in order to kill something. Learn about what the warnings actually are and what they mean, right? Learn about the choices you're making. Learn about the impact it's having on your family, right? And once people kind of click in, then Clean Boss is, because it is clean, because what it is the answer, right? And so our job, we see, is not necessarily selling product, right? Our job is to wake the world up, right? Wake up the world. Yeah, exactly. And then the product and the impact, comes on the back of that, which is super exciting. Yeah.
Bobby, thanks for being on the show.
Thanks,
amazing story.
Thank you.
I mean, I think it's cleanboss.com, right? Or what is it?
Shopcleanboss.com.
Shopcleanboss.com.
Yeah.
You can follow your mom on Instagram.
Yeah, Instagram, TikTok, Shop Clean Boss, and also Joy's, Joy Mangano, at Joy Mangano on TikTok.
Yeah. Check out the movie. What's the movie called?
Joy.
Joy.
Yeah.
With Jennifer Lawrence.
Jennifer Lawrence.
Thanks for being here.
Thanks, man. It was awesome.